Hi everyone, my name is Ogumade Jude, a public health student with a joint professional at Winning Support International, presenting to you a term paper titled Overcoming Obstacles. What is an obstacle? An obstacle is a concomitant of interaction with external environment which is inevitable and can be in form of a person, thing, or process. Which means as we go about our routine on a daily basis, there are events and situations that are inevitable that can be seen rather as a threat, a challenge, or an opportunity, which means it is not all obstacles that can be seen as a threat. There are some that comes in form of an opportunity to help us to grow and to build capacity, which means that they can yield a positive or negative result. In overcoming obstacles, we have to understand what stress is and what hardiness is, which helps us to maintain our optimal well-being to help us function effectively. Stress is a physiological and psychological response to an environmental demand which occurs after an individual perceives that he or she cannot cope with the present demand, which means that stress in a way is necessary for motivation and personal growth, just like I said. And if it is too much of it being perceived can be seen as a threat which affects our ability to function effectively. This implies that the level of stress we experience depends on the balance between how we judge situation as threats to our well-being and how we believe we have the resources to cope with the threat. On the other hand, hardiness. It is believed that people who are high in hardiness have three attitudes in common: commitment, control, and challenge. Commitment is where an individual will remain involved in a stressful situation, irrespective of its magnitude. Whereas control is where an individual believes they are able to influence the situation or outcome. And challenge is where the individual embraces the situation as a change and learn through the process. Which means that we can't just continue avoiding obstacles or threats or challenges. We have to know how to embrace them, how to embrace the situation, the event, to help us to change as well as to learn through the process to make us a better person in how we function. Two coping strategies that we will look at in this term paper, they are problem-focused coping strategies and emotional-centered coping strategies. Problem-focused strategies, we are looking at the efforts to improve certain situations by creating changes, and these changes, they help us to scale through the negativity of the event or situation that we find ourselves in. While emotional-centered coping strategies, they include the thoughts and actions that will help us to relieve how we feel about the event or situation. This means that this emotional-centered coping strategy does not improve the situation, unlike the problem-focused coping strategies, but by using emotional-centered coping strategies, it helps us as individuals to feel better, and this in a way helps us to relate well to the situation. The significance of overcoming obstacles. It helps us to see life as a continuous changing phenomenon that provokes us to learn and change. Also, it helps us to think that through this development process, we can work in a fashion that turns the situation that we perceive as an obstacle to an experience that helps us to be fulfilled, which means it helps us to grow, to build capacity in what we do. Also, it helps us to see and share this learning experience with others so that everybody can learn and build their capacity as well when they are faced in such situation or challenge. My recommendation, since we know that our interactions with external environment can, in a way, in most cases, they can lead to undesirable consequences such as depression, anxiety, and even suicide. We've seen many people who are overwhelmed that the only thought they can think of is let me commit suicide. But to help us to avoid all this kind of negativity, we have to change our self-perception. How do we perceive ourselves to be? Who do we think we are? Do we have the ability? Do we see ourselves solving that situation and scaling through? And we need to change our interpersonal relationships. We can't just continue hanging around with negative people with negative mindsets. We need to change our interpersonal relationships. And lastly, we need to change our philosophy. We need to change our view about life. With this, we will be able to overcome obstacles in whatever sphere or situation that we find ourselves in. Thank you for listening.